Hey there. Today we're looking at the adaptive advantage process again. We've covered off on the one pages the last couple of days, the business case. Today we're looking at forms. So when we kick this process off, it is triggered by a form. It's the form for a new idea, and what we want to be able to do is make it as simple as possible for someone to utilize that form. Which means we need to figure out a way for people to enter information that's needed but not feel overwhelming. So, even in this small process alone, there is a lot of information. So, what we want to make sure of is that it's not going to be overwhelming for the for the person, particularly the employee. It's like it's sort of there to combat the attitude of, oh well, I'm just here and I have a job to do and I'm too busy. Um, but I want this idea done. What we don't want is we don't want people to be lazy with inputting the information, but we also want to make it as easy as possible. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I'm not in any hurry. So let's crack on. Um, let's see. If you're out there and you're watching, make sure to sign up to my newsletter. I'm going to start doing content through there soon. It's based on these sessions. It's also going to give you some more actionable tips around what to do when you're refining a process, when you're system building. And next week, I would like to start to do more content for the DISC digital debrief idea that I've had. So I am a registered practitioner of the DISC profile assessments, and I've come up with a bit of an idea around allowing people to, within a debrief, have a digital debrief that they can come back and always refer to. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. We're going to use some AI tools with that, and see how we go. So that should be fun. Yeah, if you want to hang out in the chat. Give me some comments in there. I'll see if there's a way. I am using Streamyard here. There is a comments thing. I'm not actually sure how well it sort of pulls through the stuff, but we'll see how we go. Um, cool. All right, here we go. So we have our process here. We're looking at managing new improvement ideas through a business. We've got here the new idea that's going to require a form, and then when we have the submitted idea, we've got the new idea form that we're going to look at today, and then looking at the assessment of the idea and the information there that the business change partner will need to do. Um, these names here, by the way, they're sort of just placeholder names. They can be either an external consultant that you use or someone internal to the business. It doesn't really matter that much, so long as it gets done. Depends on who you've engaged and what your requirements are. So let's have a look at a form. So here, what do we need to get this idea up and running? So if someone's had an idea to improve something, what's the information that they need to input? Now I've had an idea about this, and I have wondered whether or not um, we could have a one field input. So without having to have multiple fields that a user has to engage with, having a one field input. And then in here, we have a handoff to ChatGPT or another GPT, some sort of GPT, some sort of AI to consolidate that information into different fields. And then we utilize those fields within the rest of the process. The reason for that is a lot of people don't concern themselves so much with the structure of information. They just want to get the information out of their heads. And if we can go describe the idea, where it came from, what you've looked at to date, and the risks that might be involved, and the benefit that it might have in one field, I think that might be better because people can use more descriptive language rather than going, oh, I don't know whether I'm wording this properly or not. And then on the form, we can also have a handoff to another sort of knowledge article or something about how to actually fill it out. Um, I do want to do a session sometime on what do you call it? Just had a complete mind blank. There is a tool out there, Scribe. There's a tool out there called Scribe, and it allows you to capture knowledge at the speed of doing a task, which is pretty cool. You can go back and refine it, give some more details. It's really good to get the knowledge repository up and running for your business. So when we're looking at an idea, what are the types of information? So let's consolidate that out first. So I'm going to actually make notes down here. So when you're looking at a process like this, really, really great that you've modeled out a process, because now what we can do is we can work our way backwards and we can look at some of the information that we might need to capture more upfront. I'm always an advocate of trying to catch as much information as possible upfront, because it means that there's less handovers and less rework down the line. So if we can capture as more information here, it means that it's likely that we can reduce the time that it actually comes through to the business case. And based on our little dashboard we did yesterday, I'll bring that up here now. Bear with me 2 seconds. I think it was this one. So we had a few different ones here. So yesterday I left you with something like this, or something like this, and then after some feedback, I refined it into a more of a different group structure. Um, so we've got improvement performance, we've got this grouped here, we've got the team engagement, and then we've got the idea throughput performance. And this needs a little bit more sort of refinement around terms and things like that. But that's the idea: is how long does it take to execute an idea, and then how many do we have, and how many benefits have we actually got through that. And then in the middle here, we've got how well the different teams are engaged in that process. So it's super helpful to understand. Super helpful to understand uh, how ideas are running and making decisions and stuff like that. So we're going to use that a little bit here. So looking at our dashboard, we've already determined some of the things that we need to capture. We got number of ideas, so that's going to be captured anyway, because when you submit an idea, it goes into a database, and we can count the rows in that database based on what departments and stuff it's for. So that's probably one of the first things that we need to think about is what department is this person in. So um, maybe it's not going to be a one field thing, but we're going to try to keep it as few as possible, right? So what information do we need? Information. Okay. So we need an email address if they're going to submit something. If they're not going to be in the system, then we need to know how we can give feedback to them about that we've received it, and who to engage and stuff like that. The next one is department. So is it in a department of the organization that it can be tied to? Dashboard tie the back to the department. We can count them in these manners here. We have now. We don't need to worry about the numbers yet. The benefits. The benefits will come out of the assess ID, and that's going to be on a different form. So is across. I think a little bit. So we'll see how we go with that. Um, so input, output. Output. Um, there's no input here because we're not actually getting anything. This is the first time that they're doing it, so which means that we need to yeah, output from this task will be this information, and we can use that later on. Um, cool. So we've got email, we've got department. So on here, I'm just going to put in a describe your idea, and we can put in the types of stuff that we want them to be able to say. So, how did the idea come about? What is the idea? Um, how does the idea benefit the business? And or its customers? Um, have you looked at solutions? And then, if yes, um, which ones you looked at? So, again, we can describe how each of those questions can be answered within a case study example and a knowledge article. Now, I'm wondering whether or not this can all be one field. So, what we can do is we can present some guidance around how to actually fill this out as we go. So, this is going to be field, this is going to be field, this is going to be field, and then GPT is going to pick it up here. It's going to sort the data. It might give us some recommendations around where to start in terms of looking for benefits and when we go into assessing the idea. So, um, out of the assessing idea, that's where we're going to start to come up with these numbers here. Don't have to worry about this. This is going to come out of assess idea. So, really, this is all we need to get started. And, if it was to be separate fields, to be one, two, three, four, five, six, seven questions. You know, it's not a whole lot. My preference would be to keep it at least under 10. 10 at the maximum. You don't really want more than that. People get, bogged down with the idea of having to do something else, especially if they're unfamiliar with it. And even if it takes them only, wouldn't even take them 5 minutes to fill this out, probably. It can seem daunting and just go, oh, it's just another thing to do. And that's why people don't do it, even though even if it would be a valuable thing to do. So, so yeah, let's start there. And then over here for the assess, we're actually going to start to put in benefits. So if we're pulling benefits through the GPT and then the outcome, the output will be benefits because we're going to add some more. We're going to put benefit um, current cycle time, benefit volume, benefit benefit future cycle time, benefit future volume. So we're gonna now we need this information because this helps us calculate what the benefit number is going to be. So over here on the dashboard, we have implement 12 month benefit ideas 304,677. That number comes from all the ideas result here. So um, benefit value is going to be all of this stuff in a little formula that adds up to this. So pretty helpful. And you can see here it's pretty easy. Like once you know where to look for benefits, it can be quite simple to come up with that number, but it does require you to have time to think through and to investigate, ask questions, all that sort of stuff. And you're going to come up with this for each benefit. Okay, so an overarching high level benefit will be save time, or save resource time, or reduce cycle time. But when you're looking at benefits of improvements, you actually need to do this. If you're going to do it this way, you need to do it for each role, each separate person that you're actually saving the time for. And that's going to give you the benefit overall. Now, the reason why I do it that way, and that's just you just made me remember that we've got role, we have the roll rate. So you're looking at if you're saving time, let's say you're looking at implementing a knowledge base, and you go, this is going to save us time over because it's going to reduce training costs. And there's actually two roles there that have saved time. There's the role that's being trained, and there's the role that's training. You're not having to sit there and do that. And even though the person being trained will, hopefully be trained faster in the new method, you've also got the secondary role, which is going to save all that time, not having to worry about training the first person. So you've got two roles there. They might save a different volume of time, of cycle time here. And their volumes might be slightly different based on how many people need to be trained and stuff like that. If you do it in two separate manners, you can come up with a more accurate number in terms of what the benefit's going to be. That's really important because getting to the bottom of this, we want to be able to have these numbers be as reflective of reality as possible. And if we can agree the rate that these roles are paid, I'm not saying put people's salaries in here. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. If you put in like the industry average or something like that as a starting point for these roles, then you're able to come up with these numbers because you know how much time they're spending, what their hourly rates are, what the current volume is, and then the future cycle time. Usually the volume doesn't change if you want to like for like, but if you're reducing, say, a certain amount of rework, then your volumes might change as well. In which case, your benefits would be higher. You're saving time and you're eliminating double ups. Yeah. So I mean, it's super simple, right? But a lot of change teams don't know this. They don't know how to do it very well. And it's a little disappointing because at that point, a process analyst will sit there and go, "Oh, my job is just to map processes and ask questions." It's so much more than that, guys. So much more than that. This is how we know. Like the process analyst, this person, the business change part, really should be the first port of call about knowing whether or not an idea is worthwhile or not. What you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be getting to this point, or the sign off period for the one pager. You know, you don't want to be getting here and putting something in front of someone that's not worth it. There probably should be a second output here in this process for, you know, meeting a certain value or something like that. Which means we have to have some additional rules around what is actually a worthwhile idea. Okay, because I go back to the example that I had the other day. If someone is doing this idea and it's actually only turns out to be worth $5,000 for the year, and they've spent 3 days doing it, where they could have earned that amount back, it's not worth it. There's no positive ROI on that, especially in the first 12 months. And if there's other ideas in this backlog that have higher ROI, why would you spend time working on something that doesn't have that when you could be working on something else? Okay, that's what we call opportunity cost. and we don't want to be spending time. We don't want to have a high opportunity cost. We want to maximize the time that we spend on worthwhile ideas. So think of this process as a giant filter, right? Yes, we want to make it easy to try to like we want think of it like I remember growing up we had I went to this I remember it was like an old gold mine as part of school thing, and they did panning. How they used to do in the rivers, and you know you scoop up the stuff and you're moving it around in the pan, and you filter the stuff out and you get those little nuggets of gold in there. This is kind of like what this process is. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make the pan as big as possible. We want to get as many ideas in there as possible, and then we need to be able to start to filter it, and then we want to come out here with the really good, shiny ones that are worth a lot. Okay, we want to get rid of the dust and the little stones, and we want to keep the really good ideas. Now, the problem is if your funnel's not big enough, if your pan's not big enough, you're not. There's a chance that you're going to miss out on um, you know, really good ideas. So we want to make this easy as possible to scoop up, but then we would need to have a really good filter here to go. This is worthwhile doing or not worthwhile doing, and then moving forward. So we have our benefits here. Now, I went and opened up my pages here. Now, this is the idea on a page. This is the example I showed the other day of the apprentice management program. So we have the opportunity size. These are the different benefits. 12 here, which means all we need on the one page is a one pager overview for the one pager. Um, one pager overview. Um, the the input here will be the ID name, and the idea status. And out of here will be the idea status. Yeah, cool. This one will be automatically set by default. Does not need to be changed by a human being, which is fantastic. So there we go. Let's move this stuff down. Great. Let's see here. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So we've got here the input. We want to describe your idea. We want them to be able to put in this information, and then we want to be able to assess that benefit. So on this form here, we're going to have this information come in, and then we want to be able to input more information here around the benefits. Then we produce the one pager, which has the benefits and its value. We have a total overarching value. So the output here is going to be the possible savings. And then we validate with the stakeholders. Right. So that's going to be a different one again. Wonderful. So this stuff here will be input into that one. And then the outputs are going to be an approval status. And then we might change the idea status. Oh, it's all coming together. I mean, that's so good, isn't it? Right. So cool. Then we have an implementation options form. Now, this one is going to be quite a little bit larger, I think, because um, the- it's going to need to produce the information to put into the business case. So, if I come up with the idea business case here, I'll pull this over here so you can see. So, we had here, um, and then we have requirements. Oops. And then here we've got a framework for, you know, getting the apprentice stuff sorted, documenting the competencies, um, system setup, stakeholder training, competency reporting, right? And there's only one option here. We actually just build a system for them to do that. What the option name is, um, and then some detailed, and then what the cost is going to be, and then what the return on investment is going to come up with, what the ROI is going to be. Okay, this one's amazingly good. Should have charged them more. And then the sign off and approvals. Cool. There we go. Station options, cost breakdown for each option. Because your licensing might be different if it's a software solution. There might be different ways you can implement the change with varying levels of risk that will change the cost. And then once you come up with those options, you can present that in front of your leader and get the sign off. So there's a little bit more here that need to go into this form because but again, it's all information, right? It's inputs and outputs. If we're looking at a process, really all we're looking at is inputs and outputs. So we just need to extract those inputs and outputs out of the user who's going to be use this form. So yeah, clear as mud, right? So so yeah, I think that's a good start here. So um what I've done is I've actually already built a system that does this value assessment. Um and what adaptive advantage in Rapid platform is going to do is it's going to basically supercharge this and have it so we can actually start producing these documents automatically, um, and be able to streamline end to end this whole thing. Because ultimately, what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to get to this business case as fast as possible. Once it's on the roadmap, you're able to dedicate resource to it. How it aligns with your strategic vision, values, all that sort of stuff. And this stuff here you can start to really work on. The issue here with speed is that the longer it takes to get here and to sign off, the longer it takes to get on a roadmap, the longer it takes to implement into, do all this fun stuff over here, the longer it takes to implement. And the longer it takes to implement, to get from idea submission to implementation, the idea to implement a process, um, the longer it takes to realize those benefits. So if you have an idea that's going to save you 120 grand in the next 12 months, you don't really want to wait 12 months. If you're able to execute on that sooner, you will, because the benefits there and you can realize that sooner. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So there we have it. We have some content for forms ready. I'm going to send this over to some of the guys to get their thoughts. How we technically implement this solution, I'll leave up to the guys. But here, there's some information here now that the guys can start to work on, things like that. So yeah, oh, that's cool. Now, I haven't got any comments in the chat. If you do want to engage with me, very happy to do that. As I said before, I'm using StreamYard at the moment. I'm looking to switch, but I'm just seeing whether or not the comments actually come through on the platform here. Otherwise, I won't be seeing them. I'm not logged into every platform individually that I'm streaming to. So, um, but yeah, if you've got any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. You can do that at my email address here. I will put that somewhere. Oh, I think do I have a banner for it? Um, there we go. You can send me some feedback. Do you like? I like it. Input at processnerd.io. Um, so yeah, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you, and make sure to sign up to my email list. I am looking to start that engine up and running, and we're going to be sending you some really useful tips to get started with process management stuff, things to think about as you're implementing change, things like that. So, um, would be great to have you on that list. And yeah, if you want to join me next week, hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.